Hello, everybody. Can everybody hear me okay? It's been a while since I've done a live. I've just been away / moving / on a trip to the wild outdoors of Yellowstone. So I took a quick break to just lay myself off from the digital sphere known as the YouTubes. But today I would like to focus on the recent increases. I guess not even recent. I just haven't addressed them yet. The increases in banking compensation, banking perks, so on and so forth, and whether or not is that worth it? Are people actually flocking back? Is that preventing people from staying? Um, but we don't have to talk about it. Whatever you guys want to talk about, but that's kind of the focus I want to talk about, especially because I'm really trying to shy away from the whole banking focus video stuff. So I am going to address more of the banking stuff on the live streams. I think that's a fair trade-off. As a life update for those of you online, I am now back in Orange County, California. If you ever see me in Orange County or Southern California, give me a little shout. I will gladly come say hi. And as Gordon Can mentioned in the chat, today is indeed my birthday. I am turning 24 today. So apologies in advance. I actually did kind of lie in my previous video. I guess I didn't turn 24 at the time of making that video, but I turned 24 today. Almost at a quarter of a century years old, and I feel like I've accomplished nothing. Thank you. But today I would like to talk about the banking increase, the base salary, and the benefits going up across all banks. But happy to answer any questions pertaining to anything that we usually talk about on this channel. Thanks everyone for the birthday wishes. I wrote a blog post today on brianjohn.com about birthdays. I'm not a big stickler for birthdays. I actually think that celebrating birthdays is kind of lame. My big philosophy is that I'm not really sure what we're celebrating for birthdays, but regardless, thank you everybody for the birthday wishes. Starting off, Dylan, do you know if SMU is a good business school? So I think SMU actually surprisingly, maybe it's not surprising, is definitely somewhat of a target school. I know a fair number of individuals from SMU at my previous firm and just in firms in general that got recruited right out of undergrad. So if you're asking, is it a good business school, as in, is the business program lead to banking rules or good jobs? Definitely. I've definitely seen within my social network and a professional network, as well as people that I've just met online from SMU that have done well. For those of you joining, thanks for tuning in. Today, I'm going to try to focus on these recent increases. I guess not even that recent. Salary and benefits that I've heard about banking from my peers. I know that a lot of banks, especially the big ones, raise their bases from 85 to 100, and then second and third year being 110 and 125, which are pretty significant. That's a pretty high base rate, I would argue, for a non-skill-based role. Not many jobs, even some software engineering roles, and definitely consulting, do not have base rates of 100 plus, with third year being 125, and they've raised daily meal expenses from $20 to $30 to $50 from what I've heard. I know some banks are doing like actual protected weekends, no marketing work past a certain time. I'll be the first to admit, like that's I think that actually turns ears and makes you think like, yo, maybe there is a certain threshold or breaking point of money that makes you think this could be worth it. I mean, it sucks, but maybe it is at a certain point. There's going to be a threshold where you're going to break a certain amount of money where you're like, you know what? I might be able to work 80 hours for 125 base and a bonus off of that. I think it's a long time coming, obviously, with the rate of MD compensation at a skyrocketing rate in the past 5-10 years. The fact that it took this long for analyst base rates to go up says something about the economy at large, but I think people have finally listened. Obviously, people were turning over at an insane rate. COVID wasn't helping the case, and banks were making money. So I think they could afford to give a couple thousands of dollars to their analysts. And I think they've realized it doesn't matter how many deals MDs bring in. If the junior team can't execute, then there's no deals being done and there's no fees being taken. So I think the increases are great. I know associates also got a pay bump. I'm sure that it will lead to people staying on, or people going back to banking, or people staying longer than they expected. So I'm a fan of the thing. I don't want to say like I was a proponent of it, but as I said earlier, for full transparency, I think I even consider like $125,000. Like that's probably might be worth taking. That's almost 30 grand increase from what was before. Is 30 grand enough to suffer through life? I don't know, but that is a pretty big increase. And obviously banking has learned its lesson through people leaving. What I've also heard is just that my class, the class of 2019, we're suffering. There's a lot. We obviously underhired as an industry last year because of COVID, and then deals exploded. So the people that were hired before were doing more than capacity. And then unfortunately, to no one's fault, the people that started last year started remotely. So they weren't that great at their job because they couldn't learn over the shoulder. So a lot of the difficulties fell on my class. So I think they'll probably compensate by overhiring this coming fall and then readjusting therefore. Afterwards, I know that a lot of you guys that I talked to for one-on-one consulting, I've talked to you about. I think this is like the best time ever for banking recruiting, just because I think they underhired this year or last year. They're going to overhire this year. There's a lot of open positions. People are quitting. So if you're still into banking, I think this is a very ideal time to join in. Everyone, thanks for your happy birthday wishes. I know I addressed it earlier, but I'm not a big birthday guy. So I appreciate the happy birthday wishes, but I'm not like celebrating crazy or anything. I will also admit, as I admitted earlier, I did lie on my other video in saying that I turned 24. I turned 24 today. I did not turn 24 at the time of that video being released. But appreciate everyone tuning in. Everyone that's at Gordon, Jabby, Joe, Sean, Demont, Austin, Carissa, Dylan, Priya, thanks all for birthday wishes. Are you saying that the base rates went up after you left banking? Actually, people have asked me, my family members have asked me that, they're upset, which have stayed longer. I think if anything, it's the cause and effect is flipped. I think because people like me have left, that had banking realized like we should raise the rates. It's not that I missed out on. I don't think. I think that's a penalty I'm willing to accept for selling out early and not having that persistence. But I wouldn't say I'm upset. I mean, I gained the 4 months without the base rate increase of my life. That's the trade-off. What would be the third potential bonus? Or what would be the potential bonus on top of 125K for third years? I would assume the rate stays the same, right? So they're going to do top bucket based on like 60 to 100% plus of that base rate. So I think 30-year analysts can make up to like 250K. What is the probability of getting promoted to MD and IB? That's a very hard question. I think if we're comparing director to MD like that, you could be stuck in that loop for years. I know directors that have been directors for 5+ years just because their deal engagement is just not high. I heard that jump is the hardest to make or somewhat easy. Like some directors go to MD in a year. Some directors never make MD. So that probability is pretty hard to say. If you're talking about the funnel from analyst to MD, if you stick it long enough and you're decent, I think you can make it. I will say the thing that I always say on this channel is the best analyst doesn't make the best MD, and the best MD wasn't the best analyst. So it's very hard to say what the probability is starting right away. You can't really say that seeing someone that's an analyst and you say, whoa, like you're going to be a great MD. You might have the qualities for being a great MD, but do they have the persistence? Do they have the grit to go through analyst through a director? That's a completely different story. Do you know anyone from Pomona College? I do. I know someone through someone. One of my friend's brother goes to Pomona College. Phenomenal school. I wasn't smart enough to get into it, but one of the top liberal arts, if not one of the top in the country and definitely California. Hey, Brett. Hello, Accounts Equity. How many hours did you put in for Gmat? So actually the books that I used, it's kind of fun, but I used Manhattan Prep. So I prepped for it during my 6 months off because I graduated a semester early. I would say I probably put in 2-3 months of studying, like 2 to 3 hours a day. So what is that? Only on weekdays. So 60 times 2 to 3, like 120 to 150 hours a day. Or sorry, 120 to 150 hours total. How about a VP to director? I think VP to director is more of a time thing. So if you do like 3 or 4 years of VP, you make director. I wouldn't say it's easy. I think it's just more of it's a timely thing once you get fired. Cook anything good recently? Look, that's a great question. I've been home since last Wednesday, so I've been dependent on my mom's cooking. So I'm ashamed to say I've actually cooked nothing in the past week, but I'm sure that will pick up as I adjust to this life longer. For those who are just joining, as an update, today's my birthday. I'm talking about base increases and compensation increases in banking. I moved back to Orange County, which is why the background is different, and I'm back in my high school home. Thank you, and happy birthday. Thanks, Emily. Hey, I'm a senior in high school. Hello, Arthur. What are the best colleges for IB? Baruch. I've never heard of Baruch. If you just type in Google, like I'm target colleges for banking, you'll find it. What is it like to study a business degree at a liberal arts school? It's unique. I think the school that I went to was one of the only that had a business program. It's unique in the sense that you're still taking other types of classes that are not businessy, and obviously it's not like an MBA based or business grad school based program. But I loved it. I like the fact that you could take a variety of classes. I think at other schools, when you join a business program, you become very skewed into that business program, and you're only with business people. But I had a wide variety of friends. I had friends from STEM, I had pre-med friends. I think that's the value of a liberal arts degree, right? Akil, at Brad John, yes. Freshman right now in college at a big public school, UIUC, yep. Any advice for freshmen? I think UIC is a somewhat of a good school for finance. I would reach out to alumni, look at what their finance degree is all about. Obviously, it's a good school, so you're going to have somewhat of a pipeline. Chicago is very nearby, and Chicago is obviously a finance hub, so good. Happy birthday! Enjoy the good home cooking. Thanks, Petroleum Crypt. Yeah, I'm about to enjoy good Mother's dinner, and then probably going out later. I remember you mentioning quants is a good option for someone who likes math and other stream. Do you have any insight as to how salary and IBP compares? Oh, it's not even comparable. IBMP baseline, you're never going to hit above like 200, 300K. Quant, if you make, if you go to like 2 Sigma or Citadel, you can hit 300 to 400K first year. I mean, quants are one of a few, and that is probably the highest compensated role in the United States. Will you always work a lot if you keep the IB route? Yes. I think even P, the work-life balance is not that much better. Obviously, if you make partner, like you're not going to be working 80 hours, or you're not going to be turning decks at 2 a.m. But honestly, some of the MDs that I worked with during banking worked almost as much as analysts sometimes. They were answering calls late at night. If you're client services, client-oriented, you are at the mercy of your clients, so you're going to be working a lot. I think if you're going to any level of professional services, whether that be accounting, banking, consulting, you're going to expect long hours. I like the content of your Korean channel, but don't really understand what you're saying. Do you have an English version? James, you want me to make an English version of my Korean channel? I don't know if that's coming anytime soon. My Korean channel is more for fun. I talk about whatever I want. I talk about political stuff. I do reviews of tours and trips. Maybe I'll expand on that once the banking channel becomes more algorithm loose. Edward Carroll, yeah, happy to answer. Arthur, was it hard getting an IB internship? If I'm being very frank, not really, in relativity to what I've heard other people go through, just because my school was in a unique spot where I think it was relatively easy and there was less competition, and there were firms willing to hire directly out of my school. I've gotten called out for that, saying that's not really what a target school is about, but that's what I consider a target school to be. But yeah, I don't think it was that difficult, if I'm being completely frank, and I guess somewhat douchey. How does your old firm have like recruiting teams for your school? Does your old firm? Yes. I was on that recruiting team when I was still at the firm. We have basically the analysts of that year, or the first year, second year, that went to that school, act as the recruiting people. So yeah, short answer is yes. There is a recruiting team that's just composed of the alumni of that school. One thing you wish you were better at going into IB. I think attention to detail. I struggled a lot with attention to detail in the beginning, just because I think I'm someone that likes getting things done as opposed to really focusing on the detail. That's something that I've been thriving in with startups. Startup is a very like minimum viable product, whereas banking, like everything has to be top notch. I still have very mixed feelings about that, to be very honest. A lot of it is just formatting stuff, but I wish I was more attentive to detail going in. I struggled with a lot with that in the beginning. For those of you joining, I saw the number has popped up. I'm talking about banking compensation and benefit increases recently, but happy to answer any questions. And for those of you confused with the comments below, it is my birthday today. Will it be hard to get into IB when transferring from a community college to university? Not really. If you're transferring early on, like sophomore, junior year, then the new school that you're getting into has become the baseline. I don't think you have to explain that university thing. I guess the hard thing to do is getting into clubs and being organized in that way and getting long enough rubber tour to put on your resume. But I don't think it's a setback necessarily. The weather here is actually, today's pretty bad. It's, compared to Chicago, obviously it's nothing, but the weather is not superb. It was pretty hot last week. It's 73 right now. I mean, I can't complain, but it's good. Might have already answered, but what does bonus structure look like at BB versus MM? I have no idea, Colin. But in general, it's like 60, 70, 80%, 90%. And then as you get more tenured, like 100+% to your base salary. Do we have friends that work at Citadel? I do. If so, they have enjoyed working there. Yeah, but they're all very particular people. They're very, very smart, very, very math, quant, physics, software engineering oriented. Estimate of 2021 internship for time offer rates depends on the firm. Some firms have like close to 100. Some firms do like 50%. Did you ever consider PE? Of course, yeah. That's like what every banking person considers. Happy birthday. Thanks, Keithley. Nice to see you. You're welcome back. Yeah, sorry guys, I've been gone for the past 2 weeks. I mean, I haven't really been gone, but I moved the Wednesday before, and then I was in Yellowstone the week after that. So, but Wednesday streams are back officially every Wednesday. But today I might have to keep it a little bit shorter because it is my birthday and I'm probably going to celebrate with my family. Can you still get into Ibm Be Successful even though you're not an extrovert or an expert conversationalist? Yes. Probably not in the long run because at the MD level you need to pitch and be relationship based. But from analyst through associate, I mean, extroversion doesn't matter. Extroversion has to do with can you get energy from a lot of people? I don't think you're interacting with a lot of people in IB these days. Maybe a lot of one-on-one meetings, but it's you getting sent work and you working alone for a long time. If anything, if you're working from home for your firm, I would say being an extrovert could hurt. Would you recommend banking for a creative thinker? No. I don't think there's any creativity associated with banking. If you're outside the box, perhaps consider something else. I think if anything, banking might make you less creative. Thoughts on going into PE from undergrad instead of IB to PE? If you can do it, why not? If that's something that you're passionate about, go for it. The Gmat is on like a computer. It is definitely on a computer, yes. It's the first test I've ever taken that's on a standardized test that's on a computer. It's all multiple choice, and then there's an essay at the end. It's kind of scary because you know that you're doing bad or good because as you answer it, it's a dynamic test. So if you answer one question right, the next question is hard. And then if you answer a question wrong, it gets easier. So you know that you're doing well or not. Happy birthday. Thank you. I know everyone talked about 100-hour weeks. How did you find it? I don't know what that means, but I never, yeah, I didn't always work 100-hour weeks. Yes, I did take breaks. Have you heard of management leadership for tomorrow? I have never heard of that, Dermont. Sorry. Happy birthday. Thanks, Angela. I am turning 24 today, everyone. I am about to round up to 30. How scary is that? And I feel like I've accomplished nothing. And yes, I addressed it earlier, but my previous video, I kind of lied. By the time that it was released, I was not 24. As a preview, for those of you online, this Saturday, my video, I'm going to be ranting about why it's so hard to find a job in 2021. How did IB prepare you for your current job right now? I mean, I'm pretty good at like business acumen, understanding how businesses are valued, how to run businesses on an operation level. I also good at Excel, good at writing emails, being communicative, just corporate structure, bureaucracy. I always struggle with saying that word. How many internships did you have in undergrad? After freshman year, I worked for an e-commerce platform. After sophomore year, I worked for a nonprofit. After junior year, I worked for an investment bank, and that's it. So 3. Brian, yes, that's my name, MS. That's crazy. I took a practice test, and it told me that my estimate Gmail would be like a 460. Oh, that's not good. Yeah, you want to hit at least like 730, 740. But I don't know if that practice test is accurate enough. It's one of those tests where you can definitely do better with practice. I think standardized tests, I think anyone with some level of competency can do very well. I have no doubt that all of you could do well. Do you think coding will be required for many finance jobs in the future? No, in the sense that I think the finance jobs that require coding will just be taken up by software engineers, and they already have. I don't think bankers are going to be coding. Would econ or finance be better than business admin and undergrad? I think something specific is better. I think general business is somewhat looked down upon and taboo. I think it depends on what you're going for, but I recommend something more specific. Finance theories are also very generic, though. Try to do a double degree of like business and comp sci or like business and econ, or like something, I don't know. I think environmental science is hot these days. Anything that's with the trend, data science. When did you start learning your technicals for IB? Genuinely, probably 3-4 weeks before interviews. Any sites or resources you can recommend where we can learn our technicals? I had this like guide that one of my friends sent me that he paid for. It was like a all-encompassing guide. I forget what company it was from, but it was good. Because of all the time and money invested in school networking interviews, internships, and time in the IB field, how do you know when to cut your losses in terms of continuing IB? Wow. I think right? It's not really a grayscale when you just feel like, you know what, this is just not enough. I know it's a terrible answer, but I don't think there's a metric that you can use. Happy birthday. Thank you. MNI 400. Colin, should I know what that means? I don't know what that means. MNI 400 questions for, mergers and inquisitions? Yeah. I'm sure that's a great guide. I think it's a good website. It's free, right? I wouldn't pay for it. There's plenty of free resources online. I'm very against paying for interview prep. Everything's free online these days. Did you have a template for financial models? Did you make from scratch? We made some from scratch. There were some that we borrowed models from, but mostly from, especially because we work with middle market companies. A lot of them are pretty particular. Yeah, you could definitely find free resources online. I'm a big proponent of free stuff. Don't spend money when you don't have to, I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of scammers out there that's trying to sell packages of like thousands of dollars when you can find stuff for free. Advice on keeping in touch with professionals, reconnecting with folks, and thinking of a best way to connect. Yeah, I typically have a list of people that I reach out to like quarterly. I just send a life update, and most of the people that I talk to are relatively on the older side, and they enjoy life updates. Who doesn't like hearing from a young person? How long does it take from scratch? Few hours. Depends on how tight your MD is and how extensive and how difficult the model is and what how complex the business is. How does an MBA associate learn how to model if they were never an analyst? There's courses at the MBA that they learn. Most MBA associates that I worked with were very good at modeling from day one. Do you think it's more competitive to get a job as a banker or as a quant? Definitely as a quant, by far. How did they do this out of undergrad? They were just very smart and went to schools like MIT. Do you need an MBA in IB? And can your company pay for it? You need it to be an MBA associate. Sometimes you need it to go up the ladder, but I know some people like to do it without it. And some companies pay for it, but a lot of companies don't. The only companies that I know for a fact pay for it are MBB consulting. You mentioned coding jobs in finance may be taken by software engineers. Do you think some coding would make one more attractive candidate for non-software finance roles? Not really. I just feel like they would rather hire someone that's better at it rather than someone that's half-ass at it. Bankers will just be more advisory, and software engineers will be software engineers. I don't think middle market M&A or M&A in general will ever be replaced by R and Python. It's not a very technical role. It's an advisory role. I think things like quant trading is already mostly software engineering. Those kind of roles will need an amplitude of finance savvy software engineers. Do you miss university? Every day. I wish I enjoyed college more. I wish nothing more than going back to college, to be honest. Do you feel like talent is moving away from banking towards big tech? 100%. That's why banking has woken up and is raising salaries and stuff, because tech is offering similar salaries, if not more, for a much better work-life balance and a wide variety of future opportunities. Did you grow up in Cali? I did. How hard is it to get into Washington and Lee? On a rate level, I don't even think the rate's that low. It's like when I got in, it was like 14%. Sorry, I joined late. What do you think of bankers now making 100K as base? That's what I was talking about at the beginning. I think it's a good change. I think people deserve it. I don't know if it's enough for people to fly back into banking, but I'm sure it will get some people to stay. That's a lot of money for especially a job that requires no technical skill. Do you think the Bay benefits in IB will return to pre-recession levels? 85K is pretty low. No, I think it will remain, if not go higher from the 100, 110, 125. They've moved it. If people stay, then they'll probably keep it. But if the attrition continues to be high, they'll continue to bump it because honestly, the MDs can afford it. The fees that they take are outrageous compared to the base salaries that analysts make. 16 and 1 to be an IB. Where do I stand out to target schools? Where do I start to stand out to target schools? I mean, target schools don't look for anything specific related to banking. Target schools are just good schools. So figure out what the target schools are and then apply to them with a good high school resume. What industry are you in now? I'm in the startup industry. I am very enjoying life. How long is process from IUI to exclusivity? It really depends on the firm. Depends on the deal. I've seen some take months. I've seen some never go there. I've seen some take weeks. Have you seen anyone in math major work in banking? Yep, I've seen plenty. I feel like they should do something better with that math major, though. Washington Lee is pretty hard to get into. It's like a top 10 liberal arts college. That is correct. What would be better, top performing student at lower tier school or average student at top school? I always say average student at top school. Which industry should I choose to be in for my new consulting gig? Ooh, do you like tech or healthcare? I think financial institutions, you're going to be working with a lot of difficult people. Tech or healthcare will be cool to be in. But I think advisory, like it's not really important, the literal industry. It's more of ask your seniors, like what industry is cool, what industry has good exits, what industry has cool people to work with on the client side. Advisory is all about what kind of people do you get to work with. Start out career in startups or banking. I started out in banking. I think some people are starting to start out in startups, but there's really not much you can do. I think startups require a certain level of thinking. So if you're always going to be interested in going and being at startups, then I think starting your career in startups is good because you're going to gain a startup skill set. But I think there's a base that you can learn a lot with banking. And yeah. Are you wearing socks right now? I am. You just have to believe it. I'm not going to stick my foot up, but I am. How many live deals were you working on generally when you're an analyst? Anywhere from 4 to 6. The most I have ever had was 8. But they weren't all like live. The most live I've had was probably 6. It's a crazy time. Yeah, I've had 9 like engagements before. Do you trade options? No, Angela, I'm not smart enough to trade options. What do you do with an engineering degree but wanted to get into banking? That's definitely possible. I think a lot of people actually do that. I think banking weirdly likes engineering people. But Harris, if you have an engineering degree, do something cooler. For your new gig, any onboarding tips to demonstrate you're a superstar, good at being autonomous? Figure out. Like talk to as many people as possible in the first week. Figure out what the company's about, who is important at each function, so you can reach out to them if you need help. And then you gain a very particular good knowledge of what is going on in that company, and then you become that point person. Got placed in ECM. Hell yeah. Oh, but switch to M&A. I actually don't know anything about intercompany across coverage group transitions. I actually heard it was kind of hard. What was your favorite memory of banking? I have a video talking about funny and absurd stories from banking. Go check that out. But I would say just like working late at night with people that I liked, like my friends, my classmates, which quickly disappeared thanks to the pandemic. What's your role at the startup? I do like strategy and product ops stuff. Since you're in startup, could you expand on the exit opportunities in the industry? I've heard of many bankers living to be CFOs. Yeah, that's definitely a thing. Some people go into like strategy stuff. Other people go into like strategic finance. What did you usually eat? A wide variety of stuff. I like poke bowls a lot. I eat Vietnamese food. I had Taco Bell sometimes when I was feeling sad. I had Blaze Pizza. I had like Thai food. We sometimes have like sandwiches delivered. A wide variety of food. I'm a big foodie. Would it make sense to delay graduation by another year? Please don't do that. No. Figure something else out. I don't think you should ever extend school and add tuition just to get into banking. Cal Savino asks, how's the golf game? Terrible. I went this morning. I was so bad. Everything I learned in the past year and a half, down the drain, Kyle. I need to start from square zero. Everyone, golf is a never-ending competition, a never-ending struggle with life. How did you find the transition from university to IB? Rough, hit me like a truck. But it was even harder because I graduated in December 2018, semester early, and then I had 6 months of doing nothing. And then I jumped into banking, so my mindset was just not ready. Do you like Chicago-style pizza? I love deep dish. I like the cheesy, thick crust. Some people actually hate deep dish. They don't understand why you eat it. I understand that. If I had to choose between deep dish and thin crust, I would choose thin crust. But I do like deep dish. I miss deep dish. Not much deep dish in California. I know there's a place in San Diego, but it is definitely a missable trait of Chicago. I'm going to miss it a lot. If you're in Chicago, definitely try Giordano's or Illuminati's. I'm more of a Giordano's guy just because they have better salad, but deep dish, big proponent. Huge proponent. Tips for keeping up with your mental health. You just got to tell yourself to take breaks and realize this is not it. There's always more light at the end of the tunnel. And there's more to life than working. Give yourself mandatory breaks. Tell yourself, you know what, I got to give myself a break. Does your old firm have locations in New York City? Yes, it does. Looking back, would you decide not to go to IB? No, Jack. I would always go back to IB. As in, I would always start in IB if I had the chance out of college. I think it was the best decision I still make. Did you party much while working? Oh, yeah, every week. Do you use any hair products? I use nothing. I shampoo and conditioner. Is it common for people to get fired in IB due to performance? Nah. It takes a very, very low, like to literally get fired on the spot, like you're fired. That's very hard. When it came to interviewing, do you recommend coming off as someone who would be fun to work with or showing off your technical skills? Definitely the first. No one likes a hard no. Best steakhouses, Merchants and Acquisition, or oh my gosh, I'm so brainwashed. Maple and Ash, Gibson's Italia, or Gibson's Steakhouse. They're probably my two go-to. Is it easier to get into IB in New York City than Chicago? There's more firms, but it's very more competitive. Guys, so I'm going to go celebrate my birthday with my family. Sorry for a quick 30-minute stream, but as I mentioned before, I'm back with the streams every Wednesday. Go check out my blog at brianjung.com where I share a lot more unfiltered thoughts. Thanks everyone for the birthday wishes. I'm going to be around every Wednesday, still offering one-on-one consulting. Sign up using the link below. Free video every Saturday. This Saturday, I'm going to be covering why it's so hard to find a job in 2021. I'll be ranting about that. Final two questions. I would love to work abroad, and I have been to Broadway if you're talking about New York Broadway. Thanks, everybody. I will see you guys next time.